Welcome to the Digital Talk Show with Arwa. I'm Arwa, your host, and I'm a freelancer. And every week I bring on some amazing guests on my podcast who are killing it in the online world. We bring on guests who have started their journey as a beginner and are now making some big cash months through freelancing, blogging, or any other online sources.
So, welcome everybody to Digital Arwa Talk Show. Today we have an amazing guest, Silvia, who is a content creator and also a social media strategist for online businesses. She's a top rated seller on Upwork and she loves cats, Disney, and video games. So, welcome, Silvia, and tell us about your journey into freelancing.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Silvia, like Arwa just said. I started freelancing 9 years ago on Upwork by literally just Googling how to make money online. And I found out about Upwork. Back then was called Odesk. And I applied to some jobs. I actually started not doing social media at all. I started with illustrations and translation jobs and eventually found out about virtual assistant jobs, which were heavily focused on social media. And I developed that love for social media, and here I am today.
That is amazing. So, even I am a social media manager, so I can totally relate. Um, you have started your journey on Upwork, right? So, since how many years have you been doing this?
Yeah, I've been on Upwork, working on Upwork for 9 years at this point.
Wow.
So it's been almost a decade, which is amazing.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I definitely learned a lot along the way. And that's why I also started teaching other freelancers how to, promote themselves and get jobs on Upwork. Because I just found that back then when I first started, I wish I knew some of the stuff that I learned along the way and that I didn't make so many mistakes. So now I try to help other people as much as I can.
That's awesome. So I know as a freelancer, even I didn't start on Upwork and Fiverr before. But as I came to know about these platforms and it's easier to get clients from these platforms rather than doing cold pitching and stuff like that. But I have also seen the power of personal branding. So that's also one thing that is very important. So do you prefer getting clients from Upwork or is it outside of Upwork? How does it work?
Yeah, I mean, still to this day, I really love getting clients on Upwork. I feel like you said, it's easier. They already know that they need help. So you're not telling them they have a problem. They already know they have a problem and they know more or less how they want to solve it. So it's your job basically to sell them on you, on why you're the best person for the job, which I mean, it's still a hard task for some people, especially if you're just starting out, but it's much easier than having to sell them on you and having to sell them on why they have a problem as well. And also, I find that it's probably the same for Fiverr. I don't have much experience on that platform, but at least on Upwork, the more I do it and the more I get kind of reputation on a platform, the easier it gets. And now most of my clients actually come to me rather than me having to apply to the job. So I get invitations every day and I choose which ones to take and which ones to, not take.
I know but that takes a bit of time to build for yourself. Yeah. So I know many newbie freelancers get very impatient about it. If they're not getting jobs, if they're not getting clients. So as a newbie freelancer, what should be your hourly rate?
I mean, I feel like hourly rates depend a lot, because some freelancers can start with past experience from past jobs. Different people have different necessities. For example, we are probably in countries that we're kind of allowed or we can actually get by with charging lower rates than someone, say, in the US. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I started at $5 an hour personally. Do I regret that? Probably. I feel like that was a bit low. And what I regret the most, though, is charging $5 an hour for a long period of time. If it's just your first client, just to get a first review, I mean, that's a beta client. You can definitely do it for 5 an hour, in my opinion. But like, yeah, so I don't necessarily have a fixed answer for this. Like, I don't think I'm in a position to tell you, oh, you should charge X, Y, and Z. And I think it varies a lot. You gotta take into consideration where you're from in the world. Like, for example, we can probably get by with charging lower rates than someone in the US. It also depends on the experience you have, but like you may be new to freelancing, but have had a past job in the industry you're working for. There's a lot of different moving pieces to that. But I'll just say I personally started at $5 an hour. And well, I don't think that's necessarily bad. What I do regret is charging that for a long period of time. So I think if you want to start low as $5 an hour, I wouldn't go any lower than that. It's fine for like a beta client situation where you take one client for that rate, in order to get your first review and your first portfolio items. But after that, like your second client should probably be a higher rate, because you also learn a lot with each new client that you get. So it wouldn't be fair to keep charging the same rate over and over again.
Yeah, I think freelancing has that income jumps which are really good as compared to a job,
Mhm.
because a job you have to wait 6 months for a promotion or 1 year for a
Yeah.
promotion. So that's amazing part of freelancing, which I really love. So like you said about hourly rates, right? And right now I check
Mhm.
your Upwork profile and it's amazing. It's really amazing. And it is like it shows $75 per hour. So how long did it take
Mhm.
you to reach that point?
I mean, I guess 9 years, right? Like, I've been raising my rate, not since day one. Again, that's something I do regret. But probably since the last 5-ish years. I'm not entirely sure when I started raising my rate, but after that, I've been raising it slowly, like with each new client or with each 5 clients, let's say. Um, but yeah, it's been kind of a slower growth than I would have wanted, because it took me a long time to actually realize that I should get started raising my rate. So that's also something that I try to teach other people, raise your rate
Mm-hmm.
sooner, like you're worth more than that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
actually funny. It had to be a client to tell me that I should raise my rates.
Wow.
I bid for like, I don't know, $10 an hour, and they told me they wanted to pay me 15 or something like that. And I was like, that's strange, but I'll take you up on that offer. And that was a wake-up call for me.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, actually. So with time, we should increase our rates. Like after like three months is a good period to evaluate where you are on your skills level as well as um on the rate level. What do you think?
I would say nowadays, I like my hourly rate, I try to raise it about once a year.
Hmm.
Um, but I still raise my package rates with each 1 to 3 new clients, depending on how in demand I am at the moment. So, for example, this month in August, this past month, I guess, I got 4 new clients, and each of them had an increased package rate, um, because I was getting so many leads and so many inquiries. I felt the need to raise our rate to match, the service that I was offering. But yeah, in the beginning, definitely with each new client, you should rethink your rate and raise it a little
True.
bit.
Yeah. So do you prefer like hourly rating or value-based rating?
I definitely prefer working on a package base, so like a fixed price per month. I feel like it gives both me kind of, I know what to expect at the end of the month, and also the client doesn't have any surprises.
Hmm.
Because sometimes when you're telling the client, oh yeah, it's, I don't know, $50 an hour, like they don't know how long it takes you.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
they may see that and think, oh yeah, it's going to take them 50 hours, so it's going to be very expensive and I can't
Yeah.
afford that. And you may lose a client based on that. but they also may think, oh yeah, it's just 2 hours per month, and then they are surprised by how much you end up charging them. So I feel like it's just better for everyone involved in the service that I offer in social media management. I do know there's some people that do prefer for their service to offer hourly rate. And I do hourly rate on certain contracts. Um, and also, another reason to use hourly rates, I guess, would be if you're just starting out. If you're figuring out how long something takes you, I feel like that's maybe a bit more fair. But yeah, once
Also,
you track your time and realize how long it takes you, definitely go to
yeah, right.
package.
Also, I recommend that sometimes the client doesn't know what they need. So in that cases, also hourly rate works pretty well because I feel that having a package will limit the option, and then they keep asking for more because they themselves don't know what they want. So I feel in those
Yeah.
cases also hourly rate is very good. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I tend to do I tend to do hourly when the client has different needs every month. You
yes,
know, if
yes.
we need like one video made this month and three made next month and it's not consistent, that's also good. But yeah, you're right.
So you talked about like getting multiple leads, right? So how do you manage so many clients altogether? Do you have systems? Do
um,
you have any operations? Do you have a team?
yeah, I definitely wouldn't be where I am and wouldn't manage so many clients without my team. And I'm super happy that I found kind of the right people at the right time. I really enjoy their work. I enjoy their personalities and working with them. And I feel like I got lucky in that sense. I haven't found a bad hire per se. But yeah, I do have a team. I do like already know, what it takes for each client. I have a good process to onboard them in place. Um, yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for so long, so my end of the job, gets easier each day. And then when my team's to help, it's just the best
So
of both worlds.
how as a freelancer can you hire someone? What's the process of it? And should you hire on a monthly basis or on project basis?
Yeah, I do kind of the same thing that I do for my clients with the freelancers that I do hire. So we do have a monthly package for each individual client that they help me with. So I have some team members who are working on several clients of mine. So we basically have a set rate, set package every month for each of those new clients.
That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
I know that as a freelancer, I tend to work more hours than I did in my job because it's the initial years of my freelancing, obviously. So, how do you find
Mhm.
the work-life balance as a freelancer?
I mean, I gotta say, I never worked a typical job, so I don't have that
Okay.
comparison factor. But I did work a lot more in the past. Like, if you asked me 3 years ago, I would have been working almost 24/7. I worked weekends. I worked until 11 p.m. and
Oh my
it was crazy.
God.
So I came to a point where I had to put a stop at it and say, this isn't healthy for me. This isn't good for my clients because then they will go on to expect that from other freelancers as well. And the same thing goes for your rates. Like if you're charging too low, they expect that from other people. But yeah, it's a matter of having boundaries. I feel like nowadays I work around 10, 15 hours per week. So it's definitely not, it's more of a part-time than a full-time, but I do have other tasks that I do on top of that are not, tracked. Like, for example, creating content for myself, checking my emails and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, it tends to be a part-time job, if you will.
That's awesome. So also there's a myth going on around Upwork that it's pretty saturated. So it's
Yeah.
hard to find clients on such freelancing platforms. So what is your take on that?
There's definitely a lot of freelancers on the platform. I'm not gonna deny that. It's just a fact. But there's also been an increase of clients on the platform ever since, 2020 and everything that happened. We've been seeing, more people starting businesses and more people needing help with those businesses. So there's more freelancers and more clients. But I feel like, you know, how you fight that competitivity is by having a good profile and submitting good proposals, because like you said before, like a lot of the people expect that to be easy and quick, and they just put something together last minute and they expect it to work, and then they either give up or they keep trying the same thing over and over and expecting it to work. So if you try just a little bit harder than most people, you definitely have a better chance, a much better chance of seeing success and finding
Definitely.
clients.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
going with the right mindset is very important in freelancing, because there'll be
Yeah.
like a lot of rejections and failures throughout, that you have to stay strong
Mhm.
mentally as well. So I
Mhm.
definitely agree with that. And have you ever faced any client disappointments, or has a client not liked your work? Like, how do you tackle that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely happened. I feel like it would be amazing if I had 9 years without any issue. I mean, I always try to provide my clients with the best work possible. I don't do things like last minute, or, don't put things together very quickly. I try to keep quality work in mind all the time. But obviously, there will be clients that don't like it, and that's okay. That's something you got to be okay with. And in that case, like if the client doesn't like it, obviously you can rework whatever you're working on. But sometimes there are those clients that won't be happy with anything you give them. And in that case, it's usually better to just let it go. Just tell them, okay, this doesn't work. Either what I did in the last situation I had like this was, we had done half the month of social media posts. So I refunded them the other half. And I just said, cut my losses. You go your own way, I go my own way. Um, but yeah, it is tough, and you got to grow that thick skin to not let that affect you too much. But yeah, between always trying to do your best work and providing the best customer service, if the client still wants to be a dick after that, like,
Yeah.
there's not much you can do. You can go away with it with a clear mind and know that you've done your best.
Yeah, I think detaching yourself from the outcome is very important, and we should learn that over time.
Yeah. And it's also something that with time, you will start to understand those red flags that you should look out for. If the client isn't very clear on what they're asking you, like, you can probably sense that it will be hard to work with them and hard to please them. So definitely with time, I've found ways to avoid getting in those situations before it's too late. But I also will say, like, there hasn't been that much trouble with clients. Like, probably within the last 9 years, like, I had 3 or 4 bad clients. So, it's
It's
not
a
also
part of
something
the
that,
journey.
yeah, I don't want to paint like a very bad picture. It definitely exists, but it's not, the most part of it.
Yeah, right, right.
The most of it is good.
Yeah. So for someone just starting out on Upwork, what will be the advice that you give to them?
There's so many.
Mhm.
But I feel like, again, like we said, it's not an overnight thing. But I always say focus on quality over quantity. And especially this goes for proposals, but it goes for your profile as well. Um, for your profile, you don't want to make like this huge profile super long. And, you definitely want to say more with less. And with your proposals, I feel like a lot of freelancers fall into the trap of, okay, I want the highest chance of getting hired. So I'm going to submit
Mm.
50 proposals to every client, and one will get back to me. Definitely focus on sending less proposals and good ones. That's much better in my opinion.
Yeah, also like filtering out, like using the Upwork filter options, that's also a very good way to, see that
Yeah.
which clients fit in your like your rate. Because I see like there are people who are looking for the same service for like $5, which is crazy to me sometimes.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you're so skilled that you feel like, what should I take this $5 opportunity just to grow my profile, or should I leave it? But I
Yeah.
feel like even if you are a newbie, you should like try to put proposals where there's a higher price, because if you have the skill, they are ready to pay.
Yeah. And to add to that, it's also good to add filters to not see as many scams, because I know that's also a big problem nowadays on Upwork and
Yeah, true.
elsewhere. So if you add the filters, especially the ones where I think there is one filter that's like payment verified, and one that is, I think, 1 to 9 previous hires or 10 plus hires. And that limits the chances of you seeing scammers on Upwork, because if they've hired people before, they're likely a real client. And that becomes more encouraging to look at a search of clients that are willing to pay fair rates and that are actually serious about it, versus looking at 10,000 different jobs and having to scroll like 10 pages to find one good one, you know?
True, absolutely true. I think being more focused on what type of clients you want to work with is very important, even initially, so that
Yeah.
you have a target rather than just blindly aiming on any goal.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Knowing what you want, knowing how to find it, it
true.
makes it much easier, to
Hmm.
send those 1 to 3 good proposals instead of the 50.
True. So it was a very fun podcast with you, and I enjoyed a lot talking about Upwork. So let our audience know where can they find you.
Yeah, so you can find me mostly on Instagram. That's where I'm mostly active. You can probably link it because
Yes,
I
sure.
know it's hard to spell, but it's at the Silvia Pino. And you can also find me on YouTube, and that's mostly where I'm most active.
Amazing. Thank you so much again for doing this podcast with me. It was an honor having
No
you.
problem. Yeah, thank you for the invite.